God damn it.
By the time we get this By the time we get this podcast started, the kid won't even be dead anymore.
What?
Okay, you didn't get that reference at all?
I think I did, yes.
That was Stand By Me.
It
Hello,
was.
everyone. We're live. Welcome to the latest episode 91 of the Crafty Boys, where we like to talk about crap and drink not crap beer. We like to drink good beer. We hope.
Yeah.
At least we
99%
try.
of the time, we're pretty good. This week is Dave's pick. Dave picked a beer that none of us can get. So I don't know what Dave's drinking. I'm drinking water tonight. So I don't know what Dave. I don't know, Dave. Dave, tell us about the beer and why'd you choose it?
It was not Dave's pick. It was Alan's pick.
Was it Alan's pick? Then what the hell am I talking to you for?
That's
I don't
a
know.
good question, Shane.
You couldn't find the beer?
Hey,
Dave,
Alan,
you
so
have
you
it.
picked the beer tonight. Why don't you tell us what it is?
All right. It's the double chocolate porter from d.a.r.y.l Brewing in Victoria, BC.
It's got a wicked label.
It's got a very nice label. It's a limited edition brew. It's has a rating of 35 IBUs, 7% alcohol, and it says double trouble, toasty chocolate Java caramel malty mouthful, minky inky color, velvety underground, frothy tiramisu, pint of digestive beer cert. Resistance is futile. Lay back and enjoy it with maple walnut ice cream, elk and cranberry pepperoni, or a lost weekend. Yeah. So it sounds really good.
I want to get some pepperoni.
The this label here is a bit of a mouthful, but
It is a bit of a mouthful.
I would not say to lay back and drink this because you probably choke.
So this is the beer. Since Alan's
Yes.
screen is totally frozen.
4
Mile double chocolate porter. I did find it. I was just trying to get a rise out of Dave earlier, but Dave didn't bite. Dave, you resisted my my turbo lasers. All right, now this beer. Look at that.
Ooh.
A little bit of a head, but look at that color. Total dark black goodness.
Okay, out of the bottle, it smells really yummy.
It does. Am I still frozen?
No, not anymore.
Okay, good. So there's my pour. Look at that. Oh.
Wow.
That's a cat's pajamas.
4 Mile Brewing. Our history brews a tale from 1858, from brothel to ghosts, sea captains and rogues, now beer. Can't complain about that. So I right off the bat, this thing smells hinty of chocolate, but when you put it in your mouth, it has a bit of chocolate, but it's a bitter chocolate, which kind of reminds you of coffee. Also reminds me of beer, apparently. So
it's
wow.
very similar. It's reminiscent of the double chocolate porter that Phillips makes, which is called Longboat.
Yes, that is true.
However,
but that one's
I
a
would
flavored
say-
beer. That one is not the. This is limited edition brew, strong, blah blah blah. Doesn't say anything about flavoring, but definitely the Longboat admits on their label that it's a flavoring, not an actual.
that's right. This one, I would say the flavor is a little bit deeper in this beer. It's just got a little bit more of a mouthfeel to it.
Alan, we need to go deeper. Deeper.
Deeper.
Apparently, I sound like I'm in a helium balloon. So
You
I
do.
I will compensate
Yeah,
by
please.
putting on my radio voice.
Inertial dampeners online. So yeah, no, this has actually happened with Alan's before. His internet, or probably his computer, is doing something's not going as fast as it should be. So to your crappy computer. And Dave, I can't believe I'm saying that, but your computer is better than his. So there you go. There you go.
I can see the wince on your face as you say that.
Well, Dave, you admitted the other day that you actually have a laptop.
I have a laptop, which I
A
don't use
laptop
much.
that's a PC that's not a crappy laptop?
Oh no, it's a crappy laptop.
But it's better than your piece of crap.
No, not even by half. It's just a computer that I can
You know,
carry with me. That's its only benefit.
true. Well, the interesting thing is that in the last couple of months, I've watched a lot of sort of big, video business education people posting how they're no longer going to be using Macs anymore because of the main thing is because all their peripherals use USB and stuff that Apple is trying to force people to utilize newer tech, and which is at one level is fine, but in any technology you shouldn't just cut people off. Apple kind of did that a little bit with like CD-ROMs and things like that, and certain versions of USB and stuff. But this particular there's no transitional period. It's just completely, here's your old stuff, here's our new stuff. All of our new stuff doesn't support any of the old peripherals, like the phone not having a phone jack. Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that more people aren't outraged by this, but the internet, or a lot of sort of the internet big wigs are jumping ship for Lenovo of all things, of which I have a Lenovo laptop, and they're pretty kind of nice. So anyway, there you go. I'm just making fun of you because you're the Mac guy and Macs suck. So
Yeah, absolutely.
What was I going to
Says
say?
the
I was
guy
going
with
to
the
say something else.
shittiest-
Well, wait, are we done talking about the beer here? We haven't heard from Dave yet.
And Dave, you're actually the hardest sell on this because you are very particular about your beer. Tell us what you think.
I don't mind it. It's I like the mouthfeel. But
Okay.
I think, and this is probably just an expectations thing.
Okay.
I think when I poured it, I was like, oh yeah, this baby is all meaty and stuff. And it's not. It's lighter. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what I was expecting.
No,
Right.
really. Tell me more.
Well, I guess seeing as you just said, I'm not really a beer guy, so like I had first what people would probably expect in this line of beer or type, if you will, or at least close to it, which is the Guinness, which I really enjoyed. And that's a meaty beer. I think we've already talked about that in the past. That is a meal replacement.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to some people yesterday across the street at Red Truck about the what sort of nutrition can you get out of beer, if anything, and apparently if you are drinking highly filtered beer, there's like zero nutritional components. The yeast, if you have an unfiltered beer, yeast that's floating in the beer provides a little bit of vitamin B, but overall it's pretty much nothing after that. You're you're screwed. So it's interesting.
Well, you're not screwed. You have beer. I mean,
Well, that's true. I'm talking about if you tried to survive entirely on beer, your body would say something like, "You're an idiot."
Yes.
So, yeah. I gotta say though, this beer is exceptional. The double chocolate.
I'm giving it a thumbs up.
I give it a thumbs up as well. Dave,
I mean,
thumb.
can we give thumbs? Because isn't that kind of like Siskel and Ebert's thing, even though they're both dead?
Okay. All right, then this beer gets a full-on kazoo.
This beer gets. Well, I've only got one bottle cap here, and that doesn't sound good. One bottle cap.
This beer gets a bottle cap to the eye. There we go. Bottle cap to the eye. That's
how
this
about
beer
an old
right
candy
here.
cane? This beer gets
An old candy cane.
This beer gets one wooden dick. That's what I'm saying. That's right. Or if I was to get really nerdy, on my desk is actually something new for this week. It gets one ring to rule them all.
Oh,
One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness bind them. Yeah, this is a friend of mine down the hall had this in their collection of memorabilia from their career traveling around the world, and as working on cruise ships. And apparently, a couple times they went down to New Zealand on a cruise ship, and they went to Hobbiton. They went to a lot of the filming locations for the Lord of the Rings movies, so I get an official little Lord of the Rings bag, and the fancy little box,
Hobbit-sized.
a Hobbit-sized ring, and a fancy little box that has the little bit of the text on it.
oh, cool.
So yeah, I was kind of happy about that. So you know what? This beer is the first beer, and you heard it here first. The first beer to be inducted into the Hall of Blurriness, and the Hall of this beer is a precious beer. Look at how precious this beer is. My precious.
So this podcast, we're having a lot of technical difficulties. First of all, I sound like an Oompa Loompa, and you are blurry.
Oompa, oompa, loompa, oompa, loompa, oompa, loompa. The slave race of the Oompa Loompas. So, okay, well, let's move on to something else. We actually have something to talk about tonight that Alan brought to our attention.
I thought this was kind of cool.
Yet happy story. What is it, Alan?
It's not beer related. Essentially, and this was all over the place yesterday, as the Star Wars universe will continue and Chewbacca will live on, the actor who has played Chewbacca for the past 40 some odd years, Peter Mayhew, is no longer able to do the role. He's and he's like 7'10" or something. I don't know, some huge number, and he's disabled. He has difficulties with mobility and needs to hang him up. So they found a new actor, and actually this actor played Chewbacca a little in some scenes in The Force Awakens, so he's not entirely new to the role. And he put out a, I guess sort of like a heartfelt note to fans of the character to introduce himself and to give thanks to everything that Peter Mayhew has done before him. And I thought this was kind of interesting because, I mean, anytime some other actor comes in and takes over for a long-serving Star Wars actor, go too well. In this case, I thought it was a good way to endear himself to fans of Star Wars and to Chewbacca. Anyway, this guy's name is Jonas Suotamo. He's Finnish. And I thought it was kind of cool. What do you guys think?
I think it's classy.
I do too. It's what I'm just reading his thing, and I think my favorite part being that I've had to go through the death of Chewbacca in the novels, where at the time, this is probably 2005 ish, maybe a bit sooner. But anyway, but Chewbacca dies in the novels, in the extended universe, which of course is now moot. But he was saving, like, I don't know, children or something.
Was it Life Day?
God, I hope not. But it was kind of interesting because it was a big the guy that was writing the book, and a lot of times you kind of look at those sorts of novels of any franchise, not just Star Wars, and you kind of look at them and go, well, they're not canon, they're not the main story, they're kind of fan fictiony almost. But this one, even though it was one of those novels, apparently, I remember reading about the author having to go and see George Lucas like a half a dozen times before he approved the book to be published. So, just because it was an iconic character, it was one of the main, group that was going to bite it. And this here, I mean, we all know this stuff is going to happen. We've seen it with Star Trek. We've seen it now with Star Wars, with a lot of the actors who are essentially aging out, or being killed off, or unfortunately passing away. So they won't be able to do it anymore. I mean, in this case here with Peter Mayhew, of course, being in his early 70s, and I've seen him in more recent video documentaries about specifically about the guy who played Darth Vader, and how his relationship, David Prowse, with Lucasfilm kind of fell apart, because apparently, and this was in the documentary anyway, he was reported to have like spread, or he gave away the Empire Strikes Back secret, and apparently it turns out that it wasn't true, and that it was just because the rumor mill got going as to who was leaking what information, and for some reason they thought it was him, because of one interview somewhere. But the thing was, the interview that they were looking at the time, back in the early 80s, was an interview he had given like 3 or 4 years before, where he thought it would be a cool idea to have Luke be the child of Darth Vader. But this is long before. This was, I think, right after filming of the first movie. And the reporter was saying, what kind of stuff would you like to see if they make another movie? What would you like to see? And he sort of said this, offhanded. And, then of course, a couple of years later, the script for Empire gets written. And so they blamed it on him, but he was like, if anything, you stole the idea from me. So, but, so it got pretty ugly at some point, where basically during the filming of Return of the Jedi, he was sidelined a lot. He was dressed up as Vader, sitting in his chair, waiting to be told when to go to set. And he said he started seeing other people dressed as Vader, going in and doing little shoots here and there. So, he said it was basically Lucas thought he was a jerk, and I guess he hasn't sought an apology, but he said it would be nice if he did, because it's long been proven that it wasn't true, that I was, breaking the contract and da 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 da. So, but anyway, back to Chewbacca. But yeah, I mean, this is very cool because we have this actor being very nice about, dudes, I'm now Chewbacca.
I think he realizes what he is, right? He realizes that the character is bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that there's a history there, and he can't really make it his own. I mean, he can in some ways, but there's a certain amount of humility there. I think that's very endearing.
Well, especially now that we have the Han Solo film being, I guess it's fully cast, I imagine. And it
More than that.
It started filming, started filming 2 days ago. So I gotta say, I'm impressed. I certainly hope that this film does as well as the one that we just had as a Star Wars story,
Hope
which
it
I
does
think it will.
better.
Oh, it most likely will, because I mean the film we just saw, Rogue One, are a bunch of characters. Most of the characters um, are new. They're brand new, or they're characters that were there at the time of the first, episode 4, but they were in the background, or they were other people.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to watch that kind of whole story unfold, and then of course, it being declared the best Star Wars movie ever. Who knows? But
Says the 20-year-old set.
True. Those
Millennials. I hate them.
bloody millennials. It's actually funny you mentioned that. I had a fight with somebody the other day about actually, I wasn't fighting against them. I was just in the conversation, but somebody in the where we were all hanging out started bad mouthing millennials, and I said something like, "Well, I don't know, millennials. I guess they're okay, most of them, but every generation's got the whiners," and which of course became a, no, it's not, it's all about this, that, the other thing, millennials are this and this, which I'm totally not on board with. But Juvenoia is kind
Damn
of
kids, get off my lawn.
yeah, well, pretty much Juvenoia is a thing, and it's always been around. I mean, look at the greaser kids of the 50s. They were Patrick Swayze's character from that movie Dirty Dancing. The sort of not quite the 60s yet, but it's post-war, and they were born to parents. A lot of them were either in the military or were supporting the war effort, and then they become teenagers and into the early 20s, and they were lost completely as well. So I just think it's a thing. I mean, not everyone is going to follow the same sort of path as the previous generation. And now we've got a situation where boomers are living, like a whole bunch longer than, generations before them. So the sort of trickle down effect of wealth has not been, we aren't 40 years old and our parents have passed away and we had to deal with their estates and all that kind of stuff. We're getting into our 50s, and sometimes I was just at a bookstore down the road run by this guy who is 68, and I happened to be talking to him. I said, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah," and he goes, "Oh yeah, no, well, I was talking to my dad the other day," and I'm like, "Sorry, your dad?" He's like, "Oh, my dad's like 98. I live with my dad, right? So he needs to be cared for, and I run this bookstore." And I just was like, wow, that is so it's all kinds of awesome, because your parents are still around, or at least in his case, his dad is. I never asked about his mother, but I'm kind of on board with that. I want my parents to live for another 20, 30 years, please, and thank you. But will that be a reality? Probably not. But give ourselves our ages here another decade, and we'll be able to. There's a new arm for me, and I need a new larynx.
By the time we're 70, we'll be able to 3D print our own new bodies, and we could just transfer our consciousness from our old body to our new body.
I was watching an episode of Rick and Morty the other day where they have it's like the second episode of the first season where they get this helmet. They're trying to teach their dog not to pee on the lawn, pee on the rug. And they give him this helmet. Don't pee on the lawn. They give him this helmet that makes him a slightly smarter. But one of the people in the family looks at it a bit closer and opens it up and realizes that there's only like one AA battery in it. And they're like, gee, there's room for like 5 more. I should just put more batteries in. Which of course the dog's brain spikes in intelligence and stuff, and one of the characters wakes up in the middle of the night and the dog is at the foot of the bed in this big robotic machine that is built to walk around in, and it goes, where are my testicles? Whatever the character's name is. What have you done with them? Where are they? and so, anyway, you can see where the story goes from there. But this race of dogs takes over. But yeah, it's hilarious. I do not. What's it? Fluffy is my slave name. I wish now to be called Snowball because my furry exterior is soft and fluffy and white. But anyway, so yeah, how the hell I got talking about bloody that show? Who knows? Have you guys actually watched
Hey,
that?
does my voice still sound like really high pitched?
A little bit, yeah.
No, you're silencing a bit.
Okay.
It is getting better as time goes on.
It's getting better. Okay.
How
So
many
I don't
programs
sound like
have
one
you
of the Munchkins from Wizard of Oz anymore.
No,
We
you were earlier.
represent the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild.
Guild. I was just about to Google that because I want to hear it. I'm like, no, I do not want to hear that right now.
Okay, so
totally-
guys,
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Shane, I think you watched at least part of the link that I gave you, and Alan kind of fast forwarded through it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Dave was sharing a link with us. Dave,
So
what was this link, and why did you share it with us? Because it's really weird, dude.
it is weird, which is why I wanted you to see it. Okay, so for our listener, this is a band by the name of Gunship. I just
called
discovered it
Gunship?
today. I just discovered this today,
Oh, okay. So this is
and
brand
I
new.
almost got sucked down the fucking rabbit hole, as I tend to do on YouTube.
Right.
But I wanted to get your guys' impressions of this band / video / music. So fire away.
They remind me of Dance with the Dead.
Dance with the Dead.
Dance with the
Is
Dead.
it another band?
is-
Yes.
It's essentially another electronic-ish band. Although I made the mistake of calling them electronic music, and apparently it's not. It's EDM. And I'm like, oh my god. So apparently there's a whole thing about electronic music that I don't quite understand. But this did remind me of Dance with the Dead, and the only real thing I actually find interesting about this thing so far is the album. The album that you sent, the song you sent, is called Pink Mist. It's from Gunship's first album called Gunship. They've apparently had 2 more albums, and this is the other thing with EDM is that the albums, that's like multiple albums per year. But the one that I like the most so far, that I only listened to slightly when we were talking earlier, was Tech Noir from that same album, which I thought was kind of
It's that bar down on Pico.
That's right. The it's on Pico. We'll send a squad by. The squad car. But sorry. I'm trying. What are some of the songs? I have to look it up now. I'm sorry. I need to look it up.
It's Tawny and Triangles.
Hang on. The Terminator. Yeah, Tawny and the Triangle. Tawny Kane and the Triangles.
Right. Tawny Kane and
Of course, my favorite being Burnin' in the Third Degree.
Oh no!
Burnin' in the Third Degree. It's here's the thing: you would hear it, and as soon as you hear it, you know exactly what scene it's in. You know exactly what's going on. It's like, oh, this is that part. That's the part where he's just getting the gun. He's about to pull it out and point the laser at her. Yeah. So there you go.
Terminator, for anybody that doesn't know.
Overall, the big thing with the song, not necessarily the song. The song was okay. The imagery that they used was very interesting because they had a lot of films that I thought people had forgotten about entirely. Specifically, the film d.a.r.y.l, which is basically this. To give you some context, the video that Dave sent us has all of these snippets of different films from the 80s into the 90s. And we identified them as action films. Yeah. Well, I don't know if d.a.r.y.l is really I guess it is kind of an action film. But and this is the sad thing is I know every single one of those movies. The original Red Dawn, Wolverines, the film d.a.r.y.l, which stands for Data Analyzing Robot Youth Life Form.
War Games.
War Games. We had Toy Soldiers from '91, which had Will Wheaton and pretty much everyone else in it. What was the other one? I'm forgetting one. There's one film that oh nuts. I counted 5.
Oh, Iron
anyway,
Eagle.
Doesn't matter. Iron Eagle, thank you. Ham on Rye, Iron Eagle. So I used to like that song back at that time. But it being the theme for the film, like I enjoyed it. And then as years went on, people made fun of it if I'd ever play it, and that always stuck. Anyway, there you go. Why did you share? Where did you share this with us? Like, what is it about this particular band that you felt? Why did you go down the rabbit hole, and why did you think we would care?
Well, I didn't necessarily think you would care. Oh, I thought you might. Being
just with the I care part. I'm just saying, what attracted you to it?
Well, okay. My impression, not having just fast forwarded through it, is it's fucking Stranger Things in music. Because it just everything about it drips 80s, and what grabbed me was the fact that there's nothing super awesome, wild, different, and new about the music. Okay.
So you're saying you could take that music and just transplant it back then and it would still fit?
Well, it's got that feel, yes.
Okay.
And here's the thing for me is, and Shane, you might have heard me say this. If you lived through the 80s, basically you would wish you hadn't, is kind of my phrase.
What's wrong with the 80s? The 80s were
I like the 80s.
Hey Alan, what's the line? Well, it's obvious that the 70s, and the the 60s rocked.
Suck.
The 70s sucked. The 80s is gonna totally rule.
The 80s might be radical.
Well, what's really funny is the 80s creep out of me every once in a while because I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago I actually used I said this completely unprovoked. I didn't think about it. It just popped out of my mouth. I said gnarly.
Nice.
Yes. And somebody
saying,
"You just say gnarly." I'm like, shut up.
Gag me with a spoon, dude.
Gag me with a spoon, dude.
Like totally.
And having also around the same time, having watched about half of Wayne's World, which is granted 1992. It's still very much an 80s
Close
film
enough.
because the people in it act very much like they're from the 80s. I have a lot of food working opportunities and a collection of hairnets.
Look, from the 80s, like that for me was going through like school, and a lot of it high school, and was very difficult time for me. But I love the 80s, like so much of the pop culture I identify with. A lot of the music I love. Yeah, I totally love the 80s.
See, and I think
was
this
great.
is what grabbed me about seeing this band was
Yeah.
that, I mean, yes, some of it, sure, it was cool because, hey, you're a kid and what cares do you have, right? You're just kind of jerking off all the time and it's all good in that regard. But I guess I could say the same thing. I had kind of a rough time of it too. It wasn't like they were the best days of my lives or any shit like that. So I've never had a completely like rosy view of the 80s, and I guess that's kind of what threw me a bit about this stuff. It was like it kind of felt rosy, which is weird.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
You know
it's like,
what?
wow,
You know what saved me in the 80s?
beer.
Pop culture. Like if there had been no pop culture, there's no way I would have survived the 80s. So it was like, escapism with like movies and TV shows, music to a lesser degree, and video games. I mean, holy hell. I spent so much time at arcades and playing games on my computers at home, or, doing like and actually, truth be told, how I met Shane was actually because of
Is that a Rush concert?
yes, no, because we used to do these bulletin board chat things on before the internet was created. We would call on our computers over a modem to some local bulletin board system, a BBS they were called back then. Shane ran his own, and I was a member on it, and we started talking, and then we realized we lived a few blocks away from each other. And we ended up getting together, and the rest is history. So I mean, a lot of pop culture references I totally dig from the 80s. Cool, especially like old movies like War Games and stuff like that. I'll admit that I've never seen d.a.r.y.l. I actually haven't seen that. So I didn't recognize those references in the video, but everything else I recognized. And
d.a.r.y.l was
not an
the
80s
reason I
movie.
remember d.a.r.y.l is that back in like grade 6 or 7, they wanted to do our teacher wanted us to do like a movie of the month or something. So we were all allowed to pick a film that we wanted to show to the class.
And of
And
course, you
d.a.r.y.l
picked
was
d.a.r.y.l.
I picked d.a.r.y.l because I had just seen it. It was, I think, I don't know, it was just one of those films that stuck with me for whatever reason. The fact that you have this kid who's a robot, a cyborg, that can do all these cool things, like master pole position in 10 seconds. So it was just very cool, and I don't know, there's something about it that I just liked, and I still can't really figure out what it was, but it's still in my brain. But there's an artistry to films that I think in the 80s that we forget was there. The filmmakers still had to do, it was pre-digital anything. Actually,
Yeah.
this is weird. This just popped in my mind. It's something I read the other day. An interview with Geddy Lee. And I don't know if it's actually real. I haven't dug into this, but apparently this interview, Geddy Lee is talking about how, with Neil Peart having, retired, and they're not really totally sure what's going to happen to Rush. I mean, should they end it? Should they, find a different drummer? But the thing was, he commented apparently that somebody asked him about the artistry of contemporary music, because they were talking about, the history of Rush and this kind of thing, and how it was in the back in the 80s and the 70s, and how it sort of moved forward through to more contemporary artists, like you went through the what's her name, did the Oops, I Did It Again song,
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, And then you have now, of course, Beyonce, who, you know, sort of exploded, I guess, what, 2003
She
onward?
exploded.
She exploded. Her career, not her herself. And apparently there's this offhanded comment. They're talking about the artistry of modern, of contemporary music. And Geddy Lee said something like, and I'm paraphrasing, it was a bit longer, but essentially, you know, when I was doing a lot of the music back then, you know, I was playing the bass, I was playing the keyboards, I was playing, you know, controlling some instruments with my feet. And you're telling me about Beyonce's artistry that's a highly edited and highly mastered thing, where the stuff that she does can't really be done live without a lot of backup help, where he was like doing all these things and his, you know, and the other people in the band were doing all these other things to make the sound they wanted. And Pink Floyd, kind of the same sort of idea. They had all these different things they were doing, you know, to make the noise they were doing. And then I was remembering,
But you know what?
Yeah.
That's a little bit disingenuous. I mean, to ask
How?
Rush, to ask a band like Rush or Pink Floyd or somebody to comment on pop stars from now or even during their same time. I mean, it's two different, entirely different kinds of music. It's a totally different mindset. Whereas, you know, like you've got like the top 40 pop controlled by the record industry, and everything, it's not art, it's manufactured to make a profit. And then you've got your bands, you know, you've got this other sort of segment over here that's sort of like, it's a little bit more experimental, and it's more about the art than it is about it's about profit, no doubt about it, but there's more art to it. So it's like comparing apples and oranges.
I mean, that's true. It's true. I can see that.
So let's have a look at this. Are you going to compare Rush to the Bee Gees?
I would compare.
Is that a
Rush
fair?
to
Is that a
Iron
fair
Maiden.
comparison?
No.
Or Rush to ABBA?
Well, those are different.
Well,
styles of
how are
music,
you
I mean.
comparing? How are you comparing?
Well, exactly. They have to be sort of from the same sort of segment, you know.
Well, not necessarily. It all depends on
same
what
market.
comparisons you want to make, right?
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's not like you can't make any comparisons because it's all fucking music.
It's not
So you
all
can't
all
just-
music. There's different genres, right? You can't compare country music with top 40.
Yes, you can.
No, I don't
You
think you can.
absolutely can.
I don't think you
It's
can.
just a question of which comparisons you want to make, and are they valid comparisons?
It's
That-
like
that-
trying to,
I'll
it's like
agree
trying
with
to
you on.
say that, you know, we've got over here in column A, we've got shows like Magnum PI, and then over here you've got shows like Seinfeld. So it's kind of like, you know, saying these shows are still shows, and there is a technology that we display these shows on. And when you play them at 2 p.m, they're very different beasts. But you play them at 2 a.m, and it doesn't matter. They're both awesome because you're probably drunk if you're still awake. And if you're watching Magnum PI followed by an episode of Seinfeld, and then you jump right on into the A-Team, then you know that as long as the Facts of Life doesn't start playing, that your life is okay. Because if you don't ever witness that conglomeration of Magnum PI, Seinfeld, Facts of Life, and the A-Team, as long as you have an episode to really balance it out, like, oh, I don't know,
like
different
Silver
strokes.
Spoons.
Or even Silver Spoons. Probably better to be Silver Spoons than, but only the fourth episode. Then, you know, you're okay.
I'd rather go for different strokes, if you don't mind.
I preferred Webster.
Webster.
Oh my god.
I don't
And
think I ever
Blossom.
saw
That was a
Webster.
little later. Um,
Oh my god, you were channeling Chris Farley there, like.
Totally.
the what a
Oh.
bizarre. I could actually watch all those shows straight through. Probably only the first episode of Facts of Life. Not the new Netflix Latino version, which I
What?
watched. Have you not seen this? Oh yeah, yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. They Norman, what's his face? Lear, got a
Norman
call
Fister.
supposedly
Still
from
alive?
Netflix going, he's 93 or something. What show would you want to redo in this day and age for a contemporary audience that you did back,
He's
then?
like, and he probably says like prune mush.
Prune juice, the drink of a Klingon.
Give me prune
Um,
juice.
So anyway, so he said that he would like to do Facts of Life, I guess, and so they've made it. Brilliant actors in it. I like the cast, but I watched about 5 minutes of it, and it had been turned into one of those shows. Which probably, if I went back and watched Facts of Life all over again, which I will never do, it's probably the same sort of thing. Because I'm not a fan of the that type of writing. The joke punchline, joke punchline, joke punchline, joke punchline. It's like, honey, there's no water in the refrigerator. Well, maybe you should have gone shopping when I asked you. Oh, laugh track. Yeah, not my thing.
That's brilliant. Let's write a show.
Quick, let's totally. Quite honestly, if that's the bar we have to set, then or we have to get.
I think we're gonna be
don't
just
Do
fine.
the bar out of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
water.
Okay, Dave, you are the crazy neighbor. Alan,
Okay.
You are the husband character, and I'll be the gay son. Go.
Who's going to be the guy that can barely
We've
speak
got it
English?
made. We've got it made. We didn't have to do anything, and there was laughter. So anyway,
You gotta remember that's the crazy neighbor. Cheap laughs.
yeah, you use the effects while we got them. We only have till April, whatever the hell.
Oh.
Exactly. So there's all these similarities but differences and blah 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 blah, and it goes back to the music argument. And I'm still working on my beer, so there you go.
I'm done.
You're done. You did the whole really?
Yeah,
And then we can get into arguments about mining, old stuff and just rehashing it,
Like what?
But
Well,
I would
like-
argue,
like
I would
this
argue
one.
that's been done, and it's been done for years and years and years.
Oh well, that is very true.
Has it
but
though? Like if we go
there's-
back to our
Yes.
childhoods, right? Okay, so let's go back to
If you
I don't know,
look
let's
at
go back
every
to
single-
89.
if you look at all the most popular movies out there, they're all the same.
I would agree.
Well, and I've had this discussion on this podcast before, but if you look at some of the most popular
No, if we
movies
haven't.
in history, they're all of them have like the same characters.
Okay, tell me more.
Give me an
Okay, so-
example.
Okay, well, let's look at say Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars, you've got two male characters with a female. Okay, you got the female who's very strong-willed, but the other two protect her. You've got one who's sort of like he's like a fish out of water kind of thing. That would be like the Luke Skywalker character, where like he's been destined for something, but doesn't know that he's destined for something. And then you got Han Solo, who's kind of like, he's been there before, he's experienced and all that. So let's compare that with Harry Potter. You've got Hermione, who is the strong-willed female character. You've got Harry Potter, who is the same as Luke Skywalker. He's, a fish out of water. He's destined for great things, but he didn't know that he was destined for great things. And then you've got Ron Weasley, who is the experienced guy. He's sort of like he knows the lay of the land. and can find his way through it. So let's look at, say, Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, so you've got the I don't know the character names off the top of my head, but you've got the female character who was the princess. She was actually a princess or somebody important. She was like the daughter of royalty. You've got the fish out of water guy who is destined for great things, but didn't know that he was destined for great things because his father was the dead pirate guy and he didn't know that. And then you've got the pirate guy who knows the lay of the land. Let's look at E.T. You've got Elliot, who is the fish out of water, who's destined for great things, but he doesn't know he's destined for great things. He's got his older brother there, and he's got Gertie, who is the female. I could go on and on and on. And even going back to the Pirates of the Caribbean, you've got those two pirates. One is short and round, the other one's tall and skinny. They're like kind of like the comic relief, much like R2D2 and C3PO. You take the same cookie cutter and just apply it to all these different movies. They're all the same. And every single one of them is a success because they follow the same recipe.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Boom.
You're a wizard,
Boom.
Jim Carrey. Okay, I suppose. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that there's definitely hitch our wagon to a script, and we're gonna rock this one out of the park. I mean, Dave, your comic timing and complete dry humor is amazing.
I swear,
saying.
if we made a movie that followed the same cookie cutter of the character archetypes used in all those movies, we would have a winner. No matter what we did with it, we'd have a winner.
Works for me.
It's all about the archetypes.
Dave, let's make it happen.
All right. Done.
Thanks, Dave.
14 tracks, 30 seconds.
Dave, that's
each.
it. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to move to Climax, Oregon, which apparently is a place.
Sounds like a nice place.
On that note, I don't know what else to say. We've covered pretty much everything. And I'm just all right. Thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow us on
thumbs
Twitter.
up to the 4 Mile double chocolate porter.
Thank you very much, 4 Mile. We love you. We have been to your location a few times.
Yes.
And I know that
I very much enjoyed the 4 Mile.
You get a bottle cap.
You get a bottle cap in the eyeball. And don't forget, follow us on Twitter. Don't forget to also follow us on YouTube on this channel. Subscribe somewhere down below, and spread the word. Let people know about the show. We are completely and utterly unscripted and insane, and we don't plan a damn thing. We just drink beer and talk crap.
Well, we're unscripted.
There you go.
I don't know about the insane part.
Unscripted. As if that's a benefit. And thank you again for our sponsorship this week of Gunship. We don't know why, but it got us talking with automatic gunship. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week for episode 92. We are the Crafty Boys, and we drink beer, and we love it. Thank you so much.